Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. In this series, we are going to learn how to integrate Django with Apache Kafka and understand how event-driven communication works in real application. In today's video, I don't want to start directly with the code. First, I want to show you what we are actually going to build, and most importantly, what happens when an event flow from Django to Kafka and finally gets processed by a consumer. Once we understand the complete flow, implementing it in the upcoming videos will become much easier. Let's understand what is the problem and how the Django Kafka resolves that one. Okay, after using it. I will start with that. So now let's take a very simple example of an e-commerce application. Suppose we have a Django application where a user places an order. Okay, the user sends a request to our Django API to create an order. Okay, now after the order is created, we may have many things to do. Okay, for example, we may need to process the payment, we may need to update the inventory. Also, we may need to send a notification to the user. We may need to send an email and maybe update some analytics systems. Okay, so one approach would be to make our Django API call all these services directly. Okay, but as the application grows, this can make our application tightly coupled. Okay, and also the API request may have to wait for many of these operations to complete. Okay, suppose this process takes this 2 second, this 1 second, and suppose this takes 2 second, 1 second and 2 seconds. So the whole takes suppose 8 seconds. Then the user has to wait overall for 8 seconds to get the response of this order creation API. Okay. So the wait is also increases, and also if any of the service is slow or failed, okay, the whole request, the API request will be affected. Okay. So that is the problem. So this is where the Kafka comes into the picture. Okay. So instead of Django directly communicating with every downstream service, Django can publish an event saying that an order has been created, and then Kafka receives and stores this event. Okay. Then the services that are interested in this event can consume from Kafka and process it independently. So Django does not have to Django does not have to know exactly who is going to process the event. Django simply says an order has been created, and the Kafka acts as the middle layer through which this event is delivered to the consumers. So here I will explain the architecture. Okay, what we are developing. Okay, so our basic architecture is very simple. Okay, so here we have our client on one side, our Django application in the middle, and Kafka after our Django application. Okay, and finally we have our consumers. Okay, so in this architecture, here first the client sends an order request through an Django API. Okay, to Django application. Okay, then the Django processes the request and it creates the order. Okay, so after the order is created, Django publishes an order created event to Kafka. Okay, and Kafka stores this event in a topic. Okay, and our consumer is listening to that topic, and when that event becomes available, the consumer receives the event and processes the order. Okay, So here we have the payment service in our example. So it consumes the event and it processes the payment. Also we have inventory service and it consumes the event and it updates the inventory. Okay. Likewise, all the services which we need to send the Kafka event, okay, they should listen to that specific Kafka topic. Okay, and the same Django application should publish the event to that same Kafka topic, and the consumer should also read from the same Kafka topic. Okay, so likewise, this is our architecture, how the data flows from client to our independent services here. So here order created is the event the Django application publishes to Kafka. Okay. So now what exactly do we mean by an event? Okay. So an event is basically an information about something that has already happened. Okay, means suppose this is the Django application and it has already created the event. So it sends the event that order is created and we need to process the order means means the independent services should process the further processing. Okay, for that API request. So in our case, the event is order created. Okay. So we can send additional information along with this event such as order ID, product, quantity, customer information, and so on. So here this example event I have shown here. Okay, so it contains the event, order ID, okay, product, quantity, and the amount. So this is all the information that the order is created for this product, and these are the product details, that is the quantity and amount. Okay, so this is the type of information that our consumer will receive. Okay, so this event is available in the orders topic because Django publishes that event in the specific Kafka topic, that is the orders topic. Okay, any event we publish that into a specific topic. Okay, and any consumer service that is interested in the event will consume it and will take its action, like the payment service, it will process the payment. Okay, as once the order is created. Okay, so here Django only publishes the event. Okay, and Kafka, it takes care of delivering it to the right consumers. Okay, Django does not take care of delivering to the right consumers. Kafka only take care of delivering it to right consumers. So now I will start the live demo, how we will run a Django application and we will consume that into a Kafka consumer. So here we are running the Kafka into the Docker container, and on the here command prompt I have went into the Docker uh, Kafka container here using Docker exempt, and I'm using the Kafka console consumer.sh, okay, to read the Kafka messages in the topic order events. Okay, and here I am running the Django API here on this terminal, and finally on this terminal I have started running this Kafka consumer here. Okay, and this Kafka consumer, it is started, and this is just one serializer warning is that, and you can see whether you can see here Kafka consumer has started. Okay, and now we will create an order using a postman. So here we have an API orders, and here is the data, customer ID and account. I will send and call the API. So I will run this. So we can see here we have get the response from the API, And once the API has got the response, we can see here on the Kafka consumer, it has consumed the event. Okay, the order created. We have the event. You can see 105 customer ID and amount 3600. Okay, so here order ID 6, customer ID 105, and amount the same event it has received, and it has done some processing. The consumer has done some processing, like it is processing the order, it is displayed all these details of the event. Okay, and on this side, this is the old event, it has consumed by the Kafka consumer, and this is the new event that we have seen now. Okay, so it is consumed by the Kafka in the container. So here the Django has not called the Kafka service. Okay, this consumer service. Okay, it just publishes the event to that order events. Here is the order events topic. It publishes the event, and then the Kafka processes that event here, and it does its processing independently. Okay, so it does not, Django does not have any role to transfer that event to any specific consumer. That rule is specifically it is doing by the Kafka, which is running in this container. Okay, so let's go through the complete flow one more time. First, the client sends a request to our Django API. Okay, so here I have sent one more request, and Django receives the request here. Here Django receives the request. Okay, and after creating the order, the Django publishes an order created event. Okay, and Kafka receives and stores this event in the orders topic. Okay, and our consumer is listening to this topic, and the consumer receives the event and processes it, like here it receives the event, and suppose here it does this some processing. So the communication is not directly from Django to the consumer. The communication happens through this Kafka running in this container. Okay, so Django is the producer and Kafka is the event broker, and our consumer consumes and processes the event. Okay, now you may be wondering, why do we need Kafka here? Why can't Django simply call these services directly? Okay, so the main advantage is that the system become more loosely coupled. Okay, Django does not need to know how the consumer works. It only needs to publish an event to Kafka. Okay, we can also have multiple consumers interested in the same events. For example, when an order is created, one consumer could handle payment, another could update the inventory, and another could send notifications. Like here, we have the payment, inventory, and the notification, and all these consumers can independently react to the same event. Okay, so same event it will receive, like the order is created, this service it will process the payment, this service will update the inventory, and for the same event it will send the notification or email. So in today's video, we didn't go deep into the implementation. The goal was just to understand the complete workflow and actually see the event moving from Django to Kafka and then to the consumer. In the next video, we will start building the setup from scratch. We will set up Kafka, create our Django application, and then gradually connect Django with Kafka. And once the setup is ready, we will implement the producer and consumer and see the same workflow that we demonstrated today working with our actual code. Okay, so if you want to understand the Kafka integration with Django from the basics and build a real world real event driven application step by step, make sure to follow the complete series. Okay. So friends, if you like my tutorials, please like this video and subscribe to my channel so you will get the latest videos. Okay, and don't forget to share with your friends if this series is useful to you and your friends. Okay, thank you, bye.